this mess is my fault. I'm just telling you guys right here. How did this panel come to be? Because so many people are always asking about multiple streams of income, right? It's important. And some people call it passive income. There's nothing passive about owning an Airbnb, is there?
No.
We call it multiple streams of income. So I identified who I feel like, this is just me, are the best people to give us great advice because they are owners of Airbnbs currently. They've bought them, they've sold them, they still have them, multiple locations, multiple styles. So what we're going to do some cleanup. Oh, you didn't bring your country donuts?
What? You're
You
fired.
need to go back. You need to go.
To be here. He told me he was gonna bring one.
Yeah, I forgot.
You got it right.
No, I didn't pick
He's
them
got
up.
him in the car. He just kept him there.
Ron Davis, famous owner of Country Donuts. The only reason we love him is because he brings donuts to the office.
He also happens to be a pretty
That's
good
not
dude.
true.
Yeah.
And before I forget, Sam and Bo, we're gonna put together Greg Flanagan and Bo are our former Murfreesboro police officer and detectives. How many years, Bo?
Greg was with Murfreesboro for 32 and I was with Rutherford County for 15.
Okay, and so now we're currently real estate agents, and we taught a class at our office on language skills and interrogation skills. Interrogation. You guys move up to the front as much as you can. Sorry, Teresa, that's you. So in police work, they teach a class called, teach a course called the Reed School of Interrogation.
Church of Christ.
And you know, if you've ever watched Castle, who in here's watched Castle? Yeah, you know, Kate, is that her name? She's awesome at interrogating them. Like, oh my gosh. So we did this little informal class at the office called the language of sales. How do you say what you say, when you say to get people to do what you want them to do? It's called NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming. It's something I've been on for 20 years. So I get people to do what I want them to do, most of the time. Then I said, oh, we need to add the interrogation skills. Obviously, Bo and Greg have that, right? I mean, they've shot people, so I know that I got informed last night at Premises Diamond Dash networking event that Greg shot somebody 10 times and he didn't die. I'm like, well, you're a terrible shot. Anyway, we're going to take those two pieces of information. We're going to add a little quick self-defense lesson. We all need it, men and women. And we're going to teach that here. And we just decided last night to do that because it's a real fun class. And it's very informative. Like, you know, if their eyes go up, are they telling the truth? Or if their eyes go to the left, are they lying? Or, you know, if they cross their legs, which way? I mean, we're talking about that kind of level stuff, which is super cool. Because we all know body language, mimicry, matching, mirroring, how to get people into your relationship. Yet this is at a whole different level. So that's a side note, so watch for that. You all should have a flyer. Primus Bank, Belinda Arender, who's fabulous, and I believe that is Dan Ralston with America's Preferred Warranty. They had one last night. They'll have another one in May. I think they're taking a break over the summer. So try to attend. It's 2 hours of free food, and last night, honestly, she bought her drinks. Okay. And it's always nice for the bartender to go, I need to close my tab, and they go, oh, it's closed. She's like, all right. It's kind of like pulling in Starbucks. They go, oh, it's already been paid.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great feeling?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like $10, but it's like, geez, thank you. So that's why you guys said that is because she wanted me to pass those out. All right.
Do you have a date on the interrogation thing?
No, I don't have a date yet, but we will post it in here, and then for you, you'll get it through the office. So it's really good stuff. All right, we're gonna get started. This is short-term rentals. So before we introduce everybody, again, like I said, I'm Courtney Yates, and who in here owns a short-term rental currently? Okay, Angel, Annette, John, Chris. Aren't you impressed I know everybody's names? I don't really know everybody's. Okay, great. So we're going to cover a whole lot of bases. Here's the rules of the land. We got 2 hours, and we're going to hit it and get it. If we get off on squirrels, which we will, I'll reel them in. We have questions, but we always end up adding more. Okay. We'll have Q&A at the end. Probably won't be much time to take a break for the bathroom, so if you need to go, just go. Outside the door is a water machine. It's pretty cool with ice. that's really burning and if you desire to present it in the middle of this, raise your hand, that's fine. But at the end, we'll do Q&A if you want to hold off for that. All right, starting at the end, introduce yourself and let everybody know how long you have been an Airbnb owner. Crystal Reagan Cthulhu. And her
Yes.
husband, Andrew Cthulhu.
Yes. So what, 4 years? 4.5?
Yeah, something like that. I think 2019 is when we started.
Let's see, are these, Trent, these good, are you hearing okay?
All right.
Okay, all right. Say that again, Andrew.
Yeah, so I think we started in 2019 or early 2019, maybe, or did we start 2018? I don't know. It's somewhere around there.
How many do you have currently?
Well, we own 2 in Miramar Beach, Florida now. We actually started here in Tennessee with the tiny house communities. We sold those, then we bought properties in Miramar Beach. We own 2, and then we manage 3 for a client. And so we've got 5 that we manage down there in Miramar Beach.
Okay, so what you heard there is they started with tiny homes there in Swanee, Montego.
Right.
I guess I should say, sold those, which we'll talk about that. I bought 1 and then 1 in Miramar Beach. One's a house, one's a condo. And then they also, you know, what do we call it, double dipped? Where they have a client that's an investor that needed to invest some money. So he trusted them. So Crystal got her license in Florida also, so she sold him 3, renovated them, and managed them. So she's double dipping there, is what we call that. Awful. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, Thomas and Merida Balch. Introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Thomas Balch.
Emerita.
I'm with Exit Realty. Our company is Blue Door Homes. We've been doing it for 6 years here in Murfreesboro. All of our homes are here in Murfreesboro. We own half and we manage half. We've got 15 total listings through 8 homes. We have some duplexes where we'll get multiple listings out of one home.
7 years or 8 years?
6 years.
We're almost at 7. We're in the 6 years.
Okay, and they're the proud parents of 5 children and 1 angel baby, is that
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
5,
4 boys and 1 angel baby.
4 boys and 1 angel baby.
Yes.
Wow, God bless you.
Thank you.
Jonathan?
My name is Jonathan Harmon, and I have 3 Airbnbs, about to only have 2. That's a long story. But I also do
Are you gonna burn it down or sell it or give it away?
I will not plead the fifth.
Don't
on that.
say on camera if you're gonna burn it down.
Yeah. And then I also have long-term rentals. I like to mix the 2 together on that. So done long-term rentals now for, 12 years, and then the short-term about 5.
Okay, so long-term rentals is, explain the difference in short-term and long-term. Somebody might not know.
One is long and the other one is short. No, long-term rental like a lease, like you rent a house.
Yes. So a long-term could be 6 months, 12 months, and that,
It's called short-term, is less than 30 days. Mid-term is less than 12 months. Long-term is over 12.
I would push back on that.
Would you go to a conference and all of that?
Yeah, and I would push back on that and say it's all about how they rent it. So, I mean, I have my short-term rental, I have some of those that rent for 6 months, but they rent it through a platform, and it's more of a hospitality type platform than it is a lease platform. We don't ever sign a lease on a longer short-term rental. So to me, the biggest difference is, did you sign a lease with me, which then gives you certain rights through the state, or did you rent this kind of at will on a day by day or for a period of time through a platform that's more like a hotel?
so what Annette is saying is by definition standards, that's the definition of short-term and long-term.
Short-term is less than 30 days. Mid-term is less than 12 months.
And
Long-term is
it's
over.
over 12 months, yes.
I disagree.
That is,
A lot of your insurance companies, like State Farm and all of those, Red Cross, all of them, they do what's considered a mid-term. They'll go, someone's house burnt down, it'll be anywhere from 30 to 6 months to maybe, it's a big house of 12, or a pretty bad, might be 12 months, 18 months. But they consider those mid-term.
awesome, thank you for sharing that. You learn something every day, don't you? So what Jonathan is saying is, you know, when you own an Airbnb, you kind of choose how you want this to look, feel, smell, and it doesn't always end the way you start thinking it's going to end, does it? For instance, if Jonathan gets somebody that's a good person that needs it for 3 months, and it's his short-term rental Airbnb, he's gonna rent it to him for 3 months if he decides to, right?
Well, and for me, they can book it that way through Airbnb, and I leave that open. So I've got several different folks. I know you were just talking about some plumbers that are renting a place. But that is still, regardless if they stayed a whole year, if they're paying through that platform, that's a short-term rental still because there's no lease in place. The agreement is through the third party. It's not through me necessarily.
Right.
So the lease.
Airbnb.
The lease makes a difference, and if you're also a sales agent, this comes into play when you go to like a possession after closing. If there's not a lease in place, then the protections that protect the landlord-tenant laws, they don't protect that tenant or the landlord. So it's at will, and it is at your pleasure that somebody is there. Otherwise, it's trespassing, and that's important. Because if they are a tenant, if we call it a long-term rental and there is a tenant in place, then they can stay after not paying, they can do all kinds of stuff per the state. But if it's not, then they're trespassing. And so they can be removed immediately.
So it's an eviction process that's not wonderful.
No.
All right, so let's go with the burning first question, thanks to Crystal reminding me, is where do you find the funds to buy, to start your first one? Once you get your first one, they kind of roll after that. Would you agree?
Okay.
So where do you find your funds? And there's many different, so Crystal, starting with you and Andrew, where do you guys find your funds to purchase? Short of cash. If you've
Yeah,
got,
well-
you know, $500,000, $1 million of cash sitting around, okay, great, but I'm being realistic.
Well, for us, the first one that we bought was here in Tennessee, and so we bought it as a second home, and we were able to get the second home loan, I guess. So we went down that route.
No, it was only 5%.
And so that was a 5% down, so we did the cash down for that, out of funds that we had, but then financed the rest as a second home. And then the second one that we bought there was, because we couldn't do another second home, we did that as an investment. And then we had gotten where did we get the funds for that? That was the HELOC, yeah, so we got a HELOC on the house, home equity line of credit, not a second, not a line of, or not a, what is it, a home equity loan, we got a HELOC. And so we used the funds from the HELOC as the down payment for the second one. And then, that one cash flowed really quickly and really well, and we were able to pay off that HELOC. And then when we sold that, we literally doubled our money when we sold that, and that's where we got the funds for Miramar Beach.
Isn't that crazy? Now, HELOC, keep in mind, if you have equity, a lot of equity in your personal home, it's money that's just, this isn't a class in finance, but it's money that's just sitting there. It's just doing like nothing. It's sitting there. So if you want your money to make money, that's what they did. They were blessed, let's go ahead and be real, with doubling their money on their sale of the tiny home. And that's a huge, that's free money that they used to invest their second one. Okay, Thomas and Merida, where do you find the funding for the ones you own?
Very similar situation. We were fortunate when we got married and we both already owned a home. So the bank let us purchase a home together, and as soon as we got married, we became instant landlords. We had 2 homes that we owned that became investment properties for us with long-term leases. And her home was in East Nashville, and us living in Murfreesboro, it was just a little far. It became a lot to manage, so we decided to do a 1031 exchange, sell that investment, and buy a duplex here in Murfreesboro. And so when we did that, we decided, let's try the duplex and see how it goes on Airbnb, and it just took off. It was a 1-bedroom unit upstairs, so then we did the 3-bedroom downstairs, and it just took off. And by that time, we had equity built up. We ended up selling our house downtown, and we put all that money down towards another. And it was just kind of a snowball where the bank was supportive of us, and we just kept buying and buying. Our investments got put into a portfolio loan that they just based that on the equity of all the homes, and they gave us a line of credit and a portfolio loan for all the homes that we own.
So, did you hear I said just snowballs? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So how do you start this? One property at a time. Back to, I think everybody here knows what a HELOC is, homeowners equity. Okay, so that's a really great way to do it, and they paid it off. Notice that they said everybody has lenders they're comfortable with. You know, I'm not gonna drop any names right now, but there's certain lenders we use for certain things, right? Some are better, some are more creative. And you've gotta have somebody who's open minded and their bank has some thought process for creativity. Would you agree?
For sure.
Yeah, so I love the fact that you guys realized, we don't need to necessarily sell Meredith's house. We did sell it because we did a 1031 exchange, but we moved it into making more money. That's what this is about. Now, this isn't a class on 1031 exchanges either, because it's a little more complicated. There's timelines, you have to buy properties that are alike. You can't sell a farm and buy a house, that kind of thing. So we won't get into that, and there's definite timelines. But what they did with the 1031 is they just set aside property, capital gains on that property. I guess that's a good way to put it. Save some time there.
Kicked it down the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kicked it down the
Yeah.
road.
And for us, we didn't do the 1031 because we had an enormous amount of equity in it, so we had the funds to pay.
Yeah,
And we didn't know what was going on at the time. That was right when the administration changed, and they were talking about all these crazy things with the 1031. So we were a little bit nervous about what it would be in the future. So we're just like, we'll just pay it in that case. But we had the equity to do it. We
yeah.
had the funds to do it.
Remind me before we finish today to talk about what you and I talked about last night, the segregation. Okay, remind me that. Jonathan, how did you get started?
So, my ex-wife and I bought our first house in Smyrna, I don't know, 2005, whenever that was.
Was she your current wife at that time or your ex-wife at that time?
She was current at that moment.
Because that's creative.
I'll get to that part, but anyway. Yeah, at the time, my wife and I bought a place in Smyrna. We had saved pretty well and had a pretty good down payment on it. We were able to, we stayed put for a little bit and built up some more equity, took a home equity line of credit off of that, and used that HELOC to purchase the next house that we moved into and turn the first house into just a long-term rental. And then after that, equity shifts around, we paid that HELOC off, kept it open though. A couple of things to note is that a home equity line of credit, typically you can only take off of your residence. They have commercial line of credit that you can take off of a rental house or an investment property typically. And then on that commercial line of credit, a lot of times they're a higher interest rate. The other thing is HELOCs sound great, but my HELOC right now that I have open is at I think it just went to 9.25%. So it's damn near a credit card at this point. So you got to be real careful with that. And then you start getting into the whole okay, if I take 9.25% money and I put it into an asset, am I going to make it enough to make that make sense? Because it's not a guarantee you're going to make 9.25 in the stock market. It's certainly not a guarantee you're going to make that on an Airbnb by the time you factor all your costs out. So they sound good, but just realize they're also fluctuating interest rates. So when they were at 3.5, they were awesome, and right now not so much. And so as we started to fast forward, divorce. She keeps the paid off house. I don't. Good for me. But I kept a couple of other houses that weren't paid off. I sold one of those and then bought 3 more houses in downtown Murfreesboro. And I have utilized the portfolio loan idea I like the portfolio loan. I got pretty good terms on it through a local bank here. And they were able to kind of like put all of that, the equity together. I used that portfolio loan on 3 properties to acquire another property and rolled all of that into one loan. So if you want to learn more about that, I'll be happy to share that.
Yeah, and I did the same. I took loans on 3 rental houses that I had that did not have loans and had the down payment for the beach house. So there's many ways to do it. Did you hear what he said too? It's a snowball effect. Starts with one, it goes. And when's the best time to start anything?
Right now.
Right now, all right? So write that down. Hey, Thomas and Meredith, how did you find the properties that you guys bought?
I'm just from here and from Murfreesboro, so we had some general areas that we wanted, and I just like obsessed over it and found them myself.
So you found an area a niche that you were comfortable in.
Right.
Right. And then, I'm gonna go to the next step. Do you have a theme on your properties?
We have some that are themed and some that aren't. Having 4 boys, Meredith wanted a babe cave. So I'll let you talk about the themes, but.
So we have a couple houses that are like mid-century themed, and it's not like super heavy deep in, like everything is, you don't walk into the Brady Bunch house, although that could be fun.
Yes.
But, like.
That house is for sale again, I think, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
I love the idea of it, but also we don't have the funds to put all of that
Yes.
into it. But then I decided that I wanted to try out a babe cave, because I saw one in like Florida or something, and I was like, oh, that would be so much fun.
What's a babe cave?
So it's like a man cave.
I'm like, what is she?
Yeah, it's a man cave, but like a she shed, but a house.
Everything's pink.
Yeah, but it's not like,
But it's not like pink
it's
walls,
fun.
but.
Yeah, I have like flamingo wallpaper in the bathroom, and
Pink
it's
neon.
it's done well. I mean, I think it's fun, and
what-
guys have stayed there and they actually like it, so it's not like that awful.
So, is your theme something to do with the front door?
All the doors are blue because we have blue door homes. So
That's the name of the company?
yes,
Blue Door Home, so that's their theme, isn't that fun? So that sticks with you, right?
all except for the babe cave. That one is pink.
Then have one pink door.
Okay, so Thomas found
blue
his
doorknob,
properties
everything.
because, it's a Mission Area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Mitch Nelson's
Mitchell
out there.
Nelson area, he grew up here, he's familiar with there. Did you go to Mitchell Nelson?
No, to Northfield.
Okay, so he's in the area.
Yeah.
So he likes those houses that are small and manageable and easy to kind of navigate through, right?
Yeah, most of them are 2-bedroom, and they stay rented. The 2-bedroom places stay rented fairly consistently.
Okay, we're
we
gonna get
love
to
the
that in
area.
a minute, because
There
I
you go.
know that's a burning question with them occupancy and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Crystal and Andrew, what happened? Okay, so you had your tiny homes up on Mount Eagle, and that went really well. You doubled your money. So then how did you decide where you go next?
Well, yeah, our company is Serenity Vacation Stays.
Okay, so
So,
their theme.
yeah,
is
so that's our
not
theme, is Serenity.
Serenity Vacation Stays, okay?
And so everything we started off, the one in the Mount Eagle was next to a waterfall, if you're familiar with that Deer Lake community at all. So we had Serenity by the Falls, and that's, we just threw out all these names, and that was the one that stuck, Serenity by the Falls. And so, from that grew the Serenity brand. So we said, well, let's brand everything Serenity. So then we came Serenity Vacation Stays, so that's our LLC. But,
And they have an LLC.
right, so then, everything, the next one was Serenity on Water's Edge. Then we have Serenity at Paradise Retreat, Serenity by Emerald Waters, Serenity on Emerald Shores,
Away from it all.
Serenity Away from It All. So we have all these Serenity themed things. And so the idea is, like a peaceful tranquility environment, an experience of itself to come in. It's not just heads in the bed, a place to stay. We want, the place that you stay to be part of the experience that you come there for.
But we found the place because we would always vacation in Santa Rosa, and we would take our families every year. And it was like $8,000 for a week, and it's like, why are we doing this? So when we sold that one, it was like, we're gonna wind up down here, but Santa Rosa, stupid expensive. So then we started we noticed that we were going to like Destin area to eat because there was nowhere in Santa Rosa to eat on the water and experience, you know, the ocean breeze and all that. So we noticed we were going there, and so that's how we found Miramar Beach.
So, two things he said that I caught. He said the experience. Did y'all catch that? All of their properties, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute, are an experience. We've heard about the Bay Cave, Flamingo Pink. I mean, I want to stay there. It's right 5 minutes from my house. I'm gonna tell the husband, the kid, and the dogs, I'm out, you know? And of course, I've had the pleasure of having clients go to their house. I've had the pleasure of myself going to Crystal and Andrews. And it is a great thing. It feels that way, the way they decorate everything. Also, let's see, you said something about experience. Oh, heads and beds. That's a term if you're in this business, right, John? How many heads in the beds? Our condo's a 3-bedroom, so we have a limit that the condo association, we can't just say we can sleep 12, because we can, because our condo that we own says you can only advertise 8. So you gotta keep that in mind too, because a lot of them are managed in that form or fashion. So heads in the bed is money. You know, it's money. They don't want it that way. They want it to be an experience. And that's a big deal, because otherwise you're just one of a million out there.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about that. How did you find the properties, Jonathan?
I'm a convenience guy, so I bought a house on East Main Street.
Yeah.
And happened to get first right of refusal on the house right behind it. So I owned all the way through to Vine, and the house behind it was an up and down duplex. The upstairs was, I think it's like 700 square feet. So I could have long-term rented it. I figured I'd make a little bit more by short-term renting it. And it's literally like in my backyard. And then the houses across the street from that came available, and so I said, yep, and I bought both of those. And so I own kind of a little triangle right there on East Vine.
That's very convenient.
It's
isn't it?
extremely convenient.
And you know, sometimes people just start with their parents pass away, they inherit
Sure.
the house. That's very common.
And my philosophy, like the thought of having a beach house to me is like I'm getting like uptight about it just sitting there. And the reason.
Why do you feel that way?
Because I want to be able to see my unit at any point that I want to be able to see my unit. And so even on the long-term side of things, I do put my eggs in one basket. It happens to be Rutherford County, and I feel like that's a pretty safe basket. And then I also, when I'm thinking about acquiring a property long-term or short-term or a mixture, is always, always, always have an exit strategy. So whatever you acquire, you need to be able to sell quickly and easily, and you need to be able to manage it. So like on the long-term, I collect the rent at the house. I drive to the house and collect it so that I can at least sort of put eyes and make sure they're not ruining my house. So for me.
I like that. So did you hear what Jonathan said is, and it's hard, don't get emotionally attached, because if it's the right time to sell, or somebody comes up and says, I'll give you X amount of dollars and it's fabulous, you sell.
Or you go, oh crap, I'm out of money.
Yeah.
And you need to sell one,
Yes.
right? Then you need to be able to sell. So I sold one in Smyrna last year, and it sold like that because when I acquired it, and I made a ton of money on it, because when I acquired it well and smart, right? And I didn't buy some crazy discounted house, and there's a reason that it was discounted.
Yeah.
Right? So always ask, well, why is this house so cheap? And if it's because there's, 20,000 volt power lines right over it or whatever, or, it's at the dump or something.
You know what that reminds me of? Who in here saw that old movie with Tom Hanks, The Money Pit? Richard, do you remember that?
There's a reason it's cheap.
Yeah, that's true.
I still love that movie. So what's interesting is, Jonathan, I feel like, I could be wrong, has more of a business approach as far as he's not connecting emotionally as intense with maybe Crystal, who is very connected emotionally because she's decorating. She really connects with the people staying there on a different level.
I disagree. I just haven't got to that part yet.
Okay, hold that thought there.
Yeah.
Put that on the notes for us to talk
Yeah.
about. Because there is different ways to think about it, right? Okay, so STR rules, none of this panel, I think, owns something in Nashville, do we?
Hell no.
So,
Not anymore.
Nope.
are there any short-term rental, and let me kind of back up. People get confused because they'll go, I want to do Airbnbs. Well, Airbnb is a platform to market the property through. STR is a short-term rental. So people sometimes, I want to do Airbnbs. Well, that means you want to do short-term rental. Nashville is a whole different scene we're not even going to talk about today because they have put a moratorium on, I don't know if that's the right word, on short-term rentals
Pretty much, though,
in
yeah.
most
Essentially.
areas.
Chokehold is a good word.
Yeah, chokehold, I
yeah.
guess. I think it's probably because all the hotels were complaining, but, you know, there's multiple reasons.
Well, and frankly, the short-term rentals, you know, they take a house out of the market for someone to live in.
Yeah.
So that, all of that is
It
part of.
creates an inventory issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like we all have been involved, and we can all probably raise our hand and say, yes, we are guilty of having one of our listings being sold to one of those large hedge fund companies out of Phoenix or Pasadena that buy lots of houses in bulk, and then they don't manage them and don't take care of them, and then they take houses off the market for us to sell, right? So that's sort of the same concept. Are there any rules with STRs here in Rutherford County that are really glaring that we need to be aware of?
I don't know if it's changed, but town of Smyrna didn't allow them at all. I don't know if that's changed up to about 3 years ago. They weren't allowed,
Does
period.
anybody know?
If it's changed, it's been very, very, very recent.
Okay,
You have, and to be clear, it's non-owner occupied short-term rentals. So a purely Airbnb, you could short-term rent a room right within your home.
or a
but you-
sofa. Some people
Right.
rent couches.
But you
People rent
have to,
couch surf.
but you would have to be, you have to live there
Yeah.
with them. And they weren't allowed at all otherwise. Do y'all know?
No,
I don't know.
I've never lived in Smyrna, so I don't know.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
So,
So,
Murfreesboro,
No.
right
there's
now,
nothing.
they don't care.
okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
We're blessed then.
No, wherever it is.
So, we talked about your properties have a theme. Jonathan, do your properties have a theme?
They do. I don't theme the entire portfolio, but I like the idea. So I love people and I love connecting with them and hearing why they're here.
Okay, so on to that part that I shamed him about not being personal.
Yeah, I'm gonna still put it in there. One of the biggest questions I get is, well, why do people short-term rent in Murfreesboro? And the answer to that question is yes. I mean, they're everything under the sun, and you think it's MTSU, and that's some of it, but it's soccer, it's baseball tournaments, it's reenactments, it's the Renaissance Festival, it's the
Bonnaroo.
yeah, all of that. It's family reunions, it's graduations, all of the above. And so I believe that community and relationships are always better with a story. So when I get a place, I go in and I try to think of, well, what's the story here? So one of my units is called the Downtown Hobbit High Rise because the roof is really short, the ceiling's really short. So, and I put a disclaimer.
So it's only for short people?
For hobbits, yes, exactly.
Wow.
But it's
I'm
a,
sure there's a large group of people that do that
yeah,
kind
but
of
it's a second floor, so it's a hobbit high rise instead of in the ground, right?
That's genius.
Yes.
In other words, it's a short roof line. You just got to figure out
Yes.
how to fix that problem.
And
Okay.
so, and in the listing, it says if you are over 6'3", you should not rent this place. I mean, it's right there in the listing.
Is that, what is it, fair housing?
Not a protected status.
No.
Height is not protected.
No.
It's not protected the other way either. I've tried to get stuff out of my upper cabinets and I'm too damn short to do it.
So what's your other property's name?
The other one's an art loft. So you go in, it's very airy, it's a lot of windows. We put some funky wallpaper up on one wall. It's purple and orange. We put a drafting table in there that has paper that you can roll out, and we put art supplies in there. It's beautiful, and it feels very artsy, and it's just a loft apartment. And then the other one, my Main Street house, I just went ahead and themed it with the what it's called. It's called the Lively House. Lee Lively
history.
built the house. There's photographs in there that he took and of him. And so it's more of a historical. I've got, in the notebook, I've got all kinds of stories about Lee and Lily, and so we went with the historical theme on that.
Write down notebook and let's talk about that. So isn't that cool? One thing that I'm kind of jumping around here because they're bringing up things I hadn't thought about, like who's my client? Who rents?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the count, does anybody in here know the count through the chamber of how many hotel rooms there are now?
Oh, I actually just saw that. It's like,
Maybe like 6,500 rooms?
I think we crossed 10
Oh, we crossed 10.
for the county.
Okay, I used to know that because Richard's a basketball fan too. The TSSAA has their high school basketball championships here, and they'll be full when they have that. And then now CMA Fest, Nashville, full, and you know, Bonnaroo, full. And so they talk
Pilgrimage.
about the room
Renaissance
count,
Festival.
Yeah.
and you think, okay, let's use his number, 10,000. Man, that's a lot of rooms. Gosh, will there be anybody left that wants to rent my space? It is endless. It's, well, Uncle Dave Macon Day, I think they've moved that
It's coming back.
Oh, it's coming back, okay.
They moved it one time,
Yeah.
1 year.
So there's
Realized that was a mistake.
constant events, and I know we all are like, what is going on with this traffic? It's because so many people stay here, even if their event is out of town. So, and this is, you know, Airbnb, how old is Airbnb, do y'all think? 25 years maybe?
I don't think it's that old.
It's not that old. It seems like it was yesterday, but it's probably a little older than I think.
I would say it could be pushing 20.
Yeah, I
Could
think
be
it's
pushing
yeah.
20.
mean-
So it was such a concept. Do we all
2003.
remember when Airbnb came on board and you're like, you mean somebody's gonna stay in my house?
15.
That I've got my underwear drawer filled out, you know, and my dishes, and so I knew friends who started, they take their family for the whole weekend or the week on vacation. I guess Shelbyville's a great example of that. Do people do that during the Walking Horse Show?
And we
And
get people from
your
Walking
personal life is in that house and they're renting it? I'm like, what? And then people started, John, you're from California, you know this, people are couch surfing, staying on sofas and paying for that, right? You're like, somebody's sleeping on my sofa, I don't know. So that's sort of how, in my mind, it started, and then it segued into quite a bit more.
Yeah, now you can rent your pool out.
Yeah.
What?
Or your yard
There's
for your
service, yeah,
dogs.
there's different, oh yeah, you heard for dogs and. yeah,
Well,
there's
you
all
know,
kinds of
I have many times asked clients that have really cool buildings. As a matter of fact, I sold a house to a client, he had a really cool building. I said, can I keep my boat here? And he said, yeah, I paid him $100 a month, it was cheap, and I put my boat in there, and wave runners, and stuff like that. So it's interesting how this has evolved, and now you've got people who are buying houses for this reason. And I love the thing. Why is it important? Okay, let's go into the whole decorating mode, because he's talked about it, they've talked about it, they've talked about it. Crystal, help me work through this. You buy a place, and maybe it comes furnished, typically not. Most of the time you don't want the furniture. So how do you live here? And keep in mind, this is not, I don't know, Thomas, are you still doing the long business?
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Except
This
for our
is-
houses.
Yeah,
This is your job.
Correct.
Okay.
We do some construction work.
Because most of the time people, well, you started with it not being your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Andrew, he's not a realtor. Andrew, what do you do for a living?
Senior quality manager for a packaging company.
So he travels a lot. He's over how many people?
I have 10 report to me directly, but
Yeah.
I'm responsible for like 60 manufacturing plants.
Yeah, so these are
North
not all
America.
realtors. Andrew's not a realtor. He's a busy dude. Crystal's a realtor, Tom's a realtor, Jonathan.
Wait. Andrew's not a realtor, he's a busy dude.
Yeah.
So realtors are not?
Is that an oxymoron?
That's right.
Is that-
Time out here.
Or was that just a moronic comment?
Freudian slip.
He's not a realtor, and he's a busy dude. Sorry about that. Thank you.
I travel a lot for work.
Yes, so he travels a lot. So now they've got these properties in Florida, and Jonathan even mentioned the distance. What?
Yeah.
How does that look? So tell us a little bit about that, because remember, Merritt and Thomas maybe drive 15 minutes to theirs.
Yeah.
Theirs is 8 hours.
I walk 5 minutes.
5
Yeah.
minutes, okay. So go ahead, how does that look?
Well, he was really nervous about the distance at first because it's so far. When we was on Monteagle, we could just drive an hour and check on them.
Right.
And even that was like an all-day process.
Wait, time out. So you have to check on your properties?
Well, you don't have to.
But you need to have
It-
eyes
You
on the
need to.
prize.
It depends on what kind of owner you want to be.
Exactly.
Okay,
Heads
okay.
in the bed or, yeah. But anyways, so we found that we did spend a lot of time when it was an hour away. But once we got in Florida, it seemed easier because, but it's not like we don't check on it. We're probably there once every 2 months, if not more than that, because things do come up.
So it's a good excuse to go to the beach, right?
It is.
I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, but you just build a good team. You find your housekeeping, team, your maintenance team, somebody that you can trust. We were lucky to find someone on the mountain. It took a little bit, but we did, and she, we didn't have to worry about our property, and we're kind of the same way now because we built a good team, and we communicate well, and we go down and lay eyes on it, and
But yeah,
Okay,
we-
wait a minute, time out. What I think they all do, correct me if I'm wrong, you self-manage?
yes.
Everybody self-manages. Now, I don't. I have a Southern Resorts that manages my properties. That's just not what my choice is. These are all magnificent, and I know it personally, self-managers. So it's a choice. You don't have to. Do I have to spend more money? Yeah, I have to give away some of my money to the PM, right? And then I better hope they got good maintenance, housekeepers, problem solvers. Okay, so Andrew, what were you gonna say before I interrupted?
Well, yeah, we do. We literally have a team. So there's the housekeeping team. We have a maintenance guy. We've got an electrician. We've got plumber. We've got all these the yard guy, the spa guy. I mean, there's all these guys, right? All these people. So they're wonderful too. And we just we've had some that don't work, and you just kind of weed through it. You live and learn. But you have people that you can depend on to get things done for you when you're not there.
Do you have ring doorbells?
We have ring doorbells.
No cameras inside.
No cameras inside.
Not legal, FYI.
So we have on our properties, we have the ring doorbells, and we have the
On the
like a Google outdoor camera,
Sure.
just so we can make sure people aren't parking on the grass. Because
Right.
there's
Or
HOA
looking over the
restrictions.
pool, that swim spa you have.
No, we don't have
No,
them in
we
the
don't
back.
have them in the back.
Oh, you don't?
No,
Okay.
no, just like on the driveway in
Okay.
the entrance, so we can see people coming in, make sure they don't have pets.
Yeah,
we're not
cameras are
supposed to have
cheap,
pets.
That are not registered.
Yeah, they're not registered. And,
Oh, whoa, okay,
So-
non-registered pets.
Yeah.
Not
And,
counting
the
service
issue
dogs.
with HOAs is they'll fine you if you park where you're not supposed to park, so we gotta make sure people are parking in the right spot. So, so we monitor that, we get notifications all the time. So between the cameras and Airbnb, and it's just a constant stream, but, yeah, I mean, it's a different way to manage, because you have to rely on people, you have to give up some of that, I wanna be there all the time and check on it and make sure that things are okay, but at the end of the day, when we go down there, you're nervous thinking things are gonna be broken or ruined or gone or whatever, and it looks exactly like it
Yeah,
should. It's like,
praise the Lord, right?
oh, okay, everything's fine, and then you get a little more confidence in your team.
That's important, having the right team. Now, I'm gonna bet, knowing Merida, she probably cleaned when she only had one or two of the Airbnbs herself.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, do you do that now?
It's sporadic. Like when we are super busy and, like 1 week, one of our cleaners was out of town. And so we had to pick up, those kinds of things. But we do have, we have a cleaning team that we rely on. And luckily both of them had owned Airbnbs in the past, so they know what's expected. And so that's
So
helpful.
here's what you choose. They're very thrifty. They're thrifty by nature, and they carry that over to their business. And so they're cleaning their properties. They're doing maintenance on their properties. They're mowing the grass on their properties. Not so much all the time, all of them, because they got a lot. They have 15 properties. Did you guys hear that? So you can choose that, depends on how you wanna spend your time and how valuable your time is to you at that time,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, you have to pick and choose what's the most important at the time, and,
Yeah,
you know, for one of the houses, it's 5 acres and spending, you know, however many hundreds of dollars an hour, but like, it's worth it for us to save some of that money, because Thomas can do the, you know, he can mow the grass, we have zero-turn lawnmower, and it makes it's more worthwhile to save that money each week, since
side
there is
note-
the time to do that.
women, when your husband complained about mowing the grass, they're lying. They love to mow the grass, because they put their headphones on, and they don't have to deal with problems, kids, dog poop, none of that. They love to mow the grass. When my husband says, oh, I gotta mow the grass, I'm like, oh, poor you. So, I'm sure Thomas, being the father of 4 little boys, is like, I'll mow the grass.
Yes,
Yes.
until the boys are old enough. I'll let them do it once they get old enough.
Do
I
I?
said, I'll let my boys do it when they get old enough.
Okay,
Put
so
them
you're
out there.
teaching
But
your
then you gotta
children
supervise.
great
Yeah.
management and business skills.
Oh, for sure.
Money earning. So keep in mind, they now, y'all own 5 or,
We own 5 homes, 4 are short-term and 1 is long-term.
yeah. So they didn't do this casually. They saved money, were very thrifty on it. So do you have a great team, Jonathan? I know you said you can walk to yours.
Yeah, but there's absolutely no chance that I'm gonna clean it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
No way.
Right now.
So, you know, I think a lot of this goes back to like the themes and all of that stuff is who is it that you're targeting? Because ultimately the maintenance and the cleaning and all of that stuff goes into pricing as well. And then you start to look at, like, so 2 of my units, I want them full all the time. And so in order to do that, I price them probably, maybe even just a little bit too cheap, but they're booked all the time. And so I've calculated up, okay, how much do I need to make per night, and then how many nights do I need it rented per month in order to cash flow what I want to cash flow. And then for me, the cleaning fee is a tack on top of that. And so the cleaning fee is the same no matter if somebody stays 2 nights, which is my minimum, or 25 nights. The cleaning fee is the same, and it's a straight pass through to my cleaning crew. But where that affects you is if you start adding on cleaning fee, Airbnb fee, taxes, and all of that, all of a sudden that 2-night stay at my Airbnb is $350, $400. Well, they can stay at a pretty nice hotel here in Murfreesboro for that same price. Some people still choose not to, and maybe they want to sleep, they want to have 5 people in the same unit, or they want to cook, or
They want a kitchen.
whatever,
It
right?
happens a lot.
So you start getting into those non-monetary intangible items that will have somebody choose your place over a hotel room. And so that's where theming it and, you know, making it functional and having all the conveniences of home really come into play, because how else are you going to beat them, right? And as far as the formula, it's pretty simple. What does it cost you? What do you get? What's the difference? And then you calculate the return percentage. And then you always got to factor in your own time. 2 of my units are really old, so I know that I'm going to have more maintenance on those. 1 is not super old, and it is almost maintenance free, right? The good thing about rentals, and you guys all know this, long-term or short-term, is you've got a cash flow aspect, and simultaneously you've got an appreciation aspect. So that double dipping thing is awesome. And the other thing, you said something, and I jotted this note down, I don't remember what you said, but people are generally good, is what I've run into, as far as like trashing your place. I've had a couple of incidences where people haven't done what they're supposed to do, but I'd say 85% of the time, people treat your place better than they probably treat their own home. And they're generally good. I've not really, other than 1, I was telling them the story, I've got called all kinds of names, and I just kind of smiled and set my phone down. But they're generally good. So I've really just not had a huge issue.
So it's interesting because having had long-term rentals for, I don't know, 40 years, the bad guy is always the landlord, right? You know, if you've ever seen that Eddie Murphy skit from, was it Saturday Night Live, where, no, who is it? The landlord.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, I'm not here. You know, if you hear, that's a hilarious skit. And, word for the day, scum bucket, he writes it on the wall, it's a Mr. Rogers neighborhood kind of thing. It's hilarious. But I'm always the bad guy. And just FYI, from a realtor's perspective, I think maybe in 40 years, maybe it's just me, I've only had 2 renters buy a house from me. If you think, oh, I'll get these renters, then we're ready to buy, they'll work for them. No, I'm the bad guy. I'm the one that collects the money. And
I'm doing better than you, I've had 4.
Oh, 4, okay, well, that's a lot better. So don't think that these people are gonna be buying houses from you, because you're the bad guy. So real quick, make sure you guys write down so you can look when you can, the names of their places. They're the Blue Door.
Blue Door Homes.
Blue Door
Blue Door
Homes.
Homes,
And
TN.
what was the names of yours again?
So I've got,
Google,
the Hobbit, downtown Hobbit High Rise,
Downtown Hobbit High Rise,
downtown Art Loft,
Downtown Art Loft,
and I'm not, the Lively House, the other one, but it's
Lively,
basically,
Lively.
it's
Lively.
basically booked up until we take it up back up.
But, so I just wanted them to be able to go online and see, what do these places look like, And then, yours in Florida that you own are Serenity
Vacation stays.
Well,
Serenity Vacation
Yeah,
Stays.
you can look Instagram. We do have a website, serenityvacationstays.com.
Okay, awesome. So let's go to occupancy. That's very important, goals that you have for each property. Because is it realistic to think, maybe they are rented all the time, but is it realistic to do that when you're crunching your numbers?
No.
No. Okay, so Merida, what's your goal for each property occupancy wise?
When we look to buy a house, or we find a house and we're like, oh, this would be great, or like the Babe Cave is the house that just like came to us from the owner, but we have to know for a fact that we could get 50% occupancy in order to just purchase the house. Like we have to know that's a guaranteed.
50%.
And that's not every month. January and February, I think everybody can agree, is dead. It's
So
just.
would you say 10 out of 12 months is too far-fetched to be occupied? Maybe 9 out of 12?
Well, it would be occupied every month. It's just not every day of every month. It's, I would say, you could be in the 70% range up there, but it also depends on the size. The larger the house, the less occupancy.
Right.
And so, your 1 bedrooms will be done.
Substantially.
Oh, yeah, in a
sometimes.
significant way.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
So-
you have the opportunity to get a 1 or 2 bedroom.
Yeah,
Great.
but then the profit's gonna be different too. The larger the house, the higher the profit.
Yeah.
And so you may burn and turn some of these, our 1 bedroom is always booked. But we're making less money and it is more work because we're in there so often. And, so it depends on kind of what your goals are, what you wanna do. Do you wanna, and we tend to now, after, 6 years of doing this, price higher because I think there's a correlation between pricing it higher and the quality of guests.
Yes.
And we're willing to be less busy and get better guests and it still maybe be the same amount of money. So.
Okay, now Crystal and Andrew, I want you to comment on that too, but first, I didn't ask you guys, when you get this empty house, do you decorate it and decide the theme and go
Yeah.
buy the stuff and?
Yeah,
Mary
we
loves
do.
that part.
That is my favorite part.
Estate sales,
Yeah.
we piece it all together.
We do we'll even do live auctions and, but I like to piecemeal everything. I don't go to Rooms To Go and buy a room or a house. Find the pieces that work together, and I say that my dad is now proud that I have an art degree because I'm actually using it.
So I can tell you 2 places that I frequented when I was preparing mine was the yard sale store. Love that place. And Remix Consignment. I did a lot from Remix, the yard sale store, and Dirt Cheap.
Dirt cheap, for sure.
Dirt Cheap in Smyrna is definitely, that one in Murfreesboro, you kind of need to shower after you leave there, but,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Hey, sheets, towels, and plates, Old Time Pottery.
Oh, and which is now transitioning to Gabe's, and by the way, they've got everything on sale, some up to 70% off, so they've got so much freaking inventory. But Old Time Pottery, down at the beach, we go to that all the time for our cups. And this is just a minor detail, but like the plastic cups, because you don't want glass around the pool, right? They get the dishwasher and they get chewed up on the top, and we replace those every year. I mean, they're cheap. We got Old Time Pottery, just get new ones. We do not wanna have a nice beach house with chewed up plastic cups. So
Yeah.
FYI. So Andrew, what did I ask you to?
Well, we were talking about occupancy.
Yes.
Okay, so for us, well, and it depends on the market. I think that the tiny houses, we were at 95%. I mean, we stayed booked every day. 95%. But down at the beach, it's more seasonal, and we're closer to, like last year, it was about 65% average. But, you know, during the summer months, March, particularly March, May, June, July, and October are about 100%. They just stay packed.
So that's called high season, and not high season is called shoulder season. And so, obviously, Andrew, you answered this first. I'm gonna get back to you on that. Do you have a minimum rental night?
Three nights.
Three?
Tiny houses were 2 nights.
And you two?
2.
Two. Obviously, there's reason, because wear and tear. It's
It's
not worth putting somebody in
party.
there for
So what-
150 to 200 bucks for a party.
Yeah.
What we do is if there is, they call them orphan nights. So if you have a space in between 2 bookings, it's maybe 2 nights, we'll open that up. We'll open that 2-night up, and maybe it'll get booked, maybe it won't. But we won't offer a 2-night unless it's just like orphan nights.
Okay.
And we don't do single nights, because those are party nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have,
Complainer nights.
and complainer nights. And the few times that we've done it, every time it's a problem, so
So-
we don't do single nights.
Short-term rental is short-term, obviously. You've got, I know for our beach house, it is, we just moved it from minimum of 5 to 4, and it was, in high season, it's 7. We don't rent anything but 7. So I only have long-term rentals in Murfreesboro. In Murfreesboro, is it seasonal or is it more event-related?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, it kind of does go back to the size of the property, but I mean, really, we know January and February are super slow. If we can get some of those midterm rentals in those months, that's the best. But then once March hits, it's much more consistent.
It's TSSAA.
Yeah,
too.
well, it starts with all the tournaments and all the, the different things that are coming through, Murfreesboro graduations and whatnot. But
No snowbirds in Rutherford County though, right?
rarely. We get some every once in a while who are like maybe driving through and they want to stop for like a month or 2, but not super often. It's just
Okay,
kind of
it's
random.
snowbirds. Do you guys get snowbirds?
We get snowbirds January, February, into March, like some of them want to stay into March, but we try not to rent the snowbirds in the March because they want the discounts. And March is spring break month, and so March is a high dollar month.
So we're gonna get to pricing in a minute. Make a note of that for me, Jonathan, to make sure we talk about pricing, because how do you know how to price? That's very important, right? It's not just willy-nilly, oh, I think this is good. You better have a plan and a purpose on that. So snowbirds is a cheaper amount down at the beach, right? And we're not far enough south, is that correct grammar, to get them all the time regularly, I would say. But I wasn't sure about here for
It's
that.
normally if they have like family in town who live here.
Yeah,
Catch them on the migration.
Yeah,
yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah.
true, yes.
We're in the
exactly.
migration pattern.
Yes, so occupancy, Andrew, you said that your tiny home was like at 95%, oh my gosh. And the only reason you sold it because you doubled your money. It's pretty simple. And then down at, and because, now keep in mind, they are very hands-on, even though they're 8 hours away, they're very hands-on. They do an amazing job on decorating and promoting. They still have, how's the best way to put this? They have a higher occupancy rate than I would, because I'm not hands-on. I have a property manager, and they've got, I don't know, 150, 200, 300 houses. They're focused on theirs, right? Okay, occupancy rate,
So the 2 small ones, they're always booked.
the
January,
two
February.
smallest, the 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom loft.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's a single, like, studio apartment type thing, sleeps 5. I have 2 of those. They're always booked,
Heads in the bed, 5.
all the time.
Okay,
Yep, and one of them has laundry, the other one doesn't, and that's made a difference. I can charge a little bit more for the laundry. and I get longer stays in the laundry, in that one. But the laundry one doesn't have an outdoor space, so start springtime, the one with the outdoor space that doesn't have laundry is full.
How do you decide to, okay, I know my minimum is 2 nights, but now these people want to stay for 2 months, right? And what I've had is somebody's come in to have surgery, and, you know, they know
We
they
have
have.
travel nurses, we have.
Travel nurses.
I have one guy, he's booked my same unit, this will be the 4th year for the entire month of May, because he puts 2 employees that work at the Renaissance Festival
Yes.
in there.
Yes, I have some friends that have Airbnbs that do that. So how do you decide to go, okay, yeah, if you want it for 2 months, I'll do it. It's just a money issue, right? Because
Yes.
do you make more renting it for 2 days here, 2 days here, 2 days here, than you do for 2 months?
You could, but the possibility that something's gonna get broke, or something's going to go missing, or there's gonna be some kind of problem.
Or more of your time invested, right?
Yes, so
Makes sense.
especially in the slower season, yeah, I mean, I've got one person that's staying for 5 months at one of my places,
Wow.
and they're paying a bleeding fortune for that, but it's rented, so I'm making the money that I need to make on it.
Okay, so, we just kind of touched on that for a minute, because he talked about travel nurses. Travel nurses are ideal because they're in place for typically 3 months, and they'll pay good. They pay really good. This is an idea. I had a client over in the Bellwood subdivision behind Bellwood School, and they had converted their garage into a master suite. So, you know, the mid-century modern houses that have a master bedroom with a back entrance, they took that master bedroom that had a bath with a back entrance and made it a room for rent. They charge $1,500 a month for that room. It's got a little refrigerator, but you can't cook or anything in there, microwave, and its own entrance, and they get the travel nurses for 3 months.
Check out Furnished Finder.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was where I was going with this, thank you. So we've talked about Airbnb, right? Furnished Finder is a very popular site for travel nurses, and who else?
Anybody?
Anybody who's going to be somewhere for like a somewhat extended period, you know,
Yeah,
more
whether
than
it's
a
a
month.
surgery or
work.
working at the Renaissance Festival or
Yeah.
whatever.
It doesn't have as high of fees, from what I understand, as Airbnb.
It's a flat rate. You pay per year, per property. We haven't had a lot of luck with it, but you almost have to have a property that you know is only midterm rentals. Like, I'm gonna save this, and I'm not gonna be on Airbnb for 2 nights here or 2 nights there, because if you get booked 3 months out, and you have a a nurse who's in town, and that's one of the months that they want, you either have to move somebody around, cancel that stay and get fined, or you just say, sorry now. You know, so you have to just weigh your odds on what's gonna work for you.
Yeah, so Furnished Finder is good for, like Annette shared with us, midtime, what'd you call it?
Midterm.
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 So you don't have a lease, you're going through a third party.
Yeah,
Yes.
midterm rentals. Let's see, Airbnb, Furnished Finder, what else?
VRBO.
Yeah.
VRBO?
Yeah.
There is also, that we don't recommend, we recommend to
That's
stay
good to
away
know.
from, is Booking.com.
Yeah.
That's terrible. It's
So bad.
terrible.
Terrible.
Wow,
But Google now has their
Right,
own.
I put one on Google Vacation Rentals here just to try it out. I haven't got anything on it yet though, but I'm just got one on there. We also have our own self-management or direct booking platform.
Yeah.
So we got direct booking, VRBO, Airbnb. By far, Airbnb, we get more bookings through Airbnb.
Yeah.
And what is odd is that everyone we talk to down in Miramar Beach says, oh, it's gotta be VRBO, the guests are better, we get all of our bookings through VRBO, but it's just a complete opposite for us. We get more.
Oh, that's
mostly
interesting, because I definitely see like the beach is normally VRBO.
Right,
Yeah.
because it's homes.
But I think
Yeah.
Right.
it depends on because we started on Airbnb, and so we had lots of reviews, and I think that makes a big difference.
It
So
does.
if,
Yeah.
if you've got tons of reviews, then I feel like they kind of go through that platform for some reason, I don't know.
Okay, you just brought that up. Are you a super host?
Yes,
You a super host?
again, and
Super
again,
host.
and again.
Does everybody know what, Meredith, explain what a super host is.
They basically have these, like, specific ratings that you have to get, your cancellation rate, your, response rate, your, the star rating per, you know, the average of like every guest that's rated you. And then every quarter you get, they put that together and say you're either superhost or, you know, you've been knocked off. And I mean, I think there are some valid points for the superhost rating. I think also it's a little bit more, I think people like host themselves. I think they rely on it a little too heavily. Cause at the end of the day, if you have, you're gonna get bad reviews at some point in time. There is going to be someone who will find something wrong with your place.
So you get a bad review, what's the best, practice with that?
Respond.
Yeah.
Respond and explain, maybe, I'm so sorry that light bulb burned out on you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely some that are really minor and people just lose their minds over.
But sometimes you mess up and you own
Yeah,
it.
also,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
I'm
just like
sorry
a,
I messed up.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like a restaurant. What do people read? They read the first 1 or 2 5 stars, and then they go straight to the 1 star.
Right.
Right. And so, how do you respond to both of those? And you know, if you're, well, you were a
Defensive,
blank
if
and
you're
blank,
defensive,
and all of
yeah.
that, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, there's probably some valid points here.
Yeah.
You know.
And you also have to remember on those responses, the response is not for that guest. The response is for your potential guest.
That's
Yes.
So they're seeing how you're responding, and
That's
even
right.
if it's something that like is totally ridiculous, I mean, if you just have to like let it roll off your back and, you know, say, I mean, even if you don't want to apologize, you just say, you know,
Oh,
I'm
that's
sorry
so
you feel that way.
Well, I always take the stance, be bigger than they are. Does that
Yeah.
make sense, you know? Remain that professionalism and be bigger there, because you will get bad reviews. I know Crystal is like a cat on a hot tin roof with their reviews. It's very important for her to get 5-star reviews. She watches it. Everything, this is my opinion, everything you do for that Airbnb is to get the 5-star review. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it's very
Yeah,
important.
that's one of the good things about Airbnb and VRBO is that feedback, you know, and so it gives you a little more trust in the guest, because they know you're gonna leave feedback for them, and they don't want the bad feedback, because they wanna continue to rent on the
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah, I got 2 people banned from Airbnb.
Banned?
2 different groups.
Yeah.
Because it was so bad.
Now,
Yeah,
keep in
well-
mind, the negative for hiring a PM, property manager, like I have, is I don't see any reviews. They don't do reviews. If they do, they're internal only. I don't see them, the public doesn't see them. And I do feel like that affects my occupancy rate.
Well, and not everybody leaves feedback. Like if they go and they have a mediocre stay and it's just, okay, they're not gonna leave negative, they're not gonna leave positive. They're
You
just
mean when
not gonna
realtors
say
show
anything.
listings, they always give feedback to the listing agent?
Yeah, and I have I've got a theory on that is, sometimes I'll see, we go on Airbnb and look at all these properties, and the property's been listed for years, and they have just a few reviews.
Just a handful of
And
reviews.
it's like, how is that possible? We get a review almost every stay. And
Now, you focus on it too.
we focus on it, but my feeling is, if you just have an average stay, you're probably not gonna leave a review. Or if you have a negative stay, you're just not, if it's,
Right.
yeah, if it's like, it's not great, I'm not gonna leave a review, I'll just let it slide. But if you give them a reason to leave a good review, they're going to. You
Yeah.
give them the good experience and all that. So when you look at properties that don't have a lot of reviews, that's my thought, is that it's probably just a basic,
Yeah.
very
Well,
basic.
Now, keep in mind,
place.
when we're talking about personal attention, again, I'm speaking from experience. I'm down at the beach. I called Crystal. I said, hey, I'm down here at our place. Do you need anything at your place while I'm here, right? It's 8 hours away, right? That's what you do. You help each other out. She goes, well, my people said the toaster's missing. She goes, I don't know what happened to the toaster. Somebody took a toaster. Why did somebody take the toaster? So I run to Walmart, grab a toaster, and take it to her Airbnb for her. She didn't really have to worry about the toaster. But, I mean, really. But she was very focused on that particular detail. So I want you to understand the details, that all of this, not everybody is like that, but they are all very attention to detail.
One other little thing on the reviews, there's a strategy to that, and that is that at least on Airbnb, When the guest leaves, they check out or whatever at 5 o'clock that day, if your checkout's at 10, which is what mine is, then you'll get an email that says, would you like to review Terry, right? And so you have that. Well, at the same time, they get an email that says, would you like to review the Hobbit High Rise? Okay, well, when they fill out a review, I get an email that says, Terry has reviewed your place, would you like to see? You can't see it unless you also provide a review.
Or it's been 14 days.
Or it's been 14 days.
Yeah.
It works the other direction as well.
Yeah.
So if I get that email and it says, would you like to review Terry, and I provide a review on Terry, then they're gonna get an email that says, the host has provided feedback on you. Well, that's gonna eat them alive. So I'd say at this point, I'm probably 98% of all of my stays get a review, because if I don't get a review from them within a couple days, I fill out the review on them, and now curiosity killed the cat. They're always gonna go and fill out that review just so they can see what I said about them.
Oh, that's awesome, isn't it? Yeah, and they want to see what they said. Did you hear what Jonathan said? He's gotten 2 people banned from the Airbnb platform, which means they did not get good reviews on more than one occasion.
One of them, I don't want to go into all the details, but they trashed my historic home.
So they could never stay in an Airbnb property. They're banned.
Yep, and they'd gotten like 6 other reviews, and they were all like middle of the road. One of them wasn't great. One of them was pretty good. And if I could have figured out how to give them 0 stars, I would have. I mean,
Okay.
they were awful.
So I have pets, and you know, my kids say I love my pet more than them. It's questionable some days, right, John? How many dogs do y'all have? 4 dogs, and how many kids? 4. You just think through
one to one
that.
ratio.
So pet, thank you
3.
for sharing, because I didn't even realize that. Pet friendly, are you guys pet friendly?
On the
Houses are.
yeah, on the homes, yes, but the condos,
No.
no.
Okay, do they pay an additional fee?
For the homes, yes,
Non-refundable?
yes. Yeah, and the thing about the pet fees is, you know, people say, why is it, we charge $150 for a pet fee. But
That's cheap.
it is,
I
it's
pay
cheap.
that any day for Oliver.
But we
I
have
might leave
to,
Charlie
we have
at
to
home, but I'm
replace
paying that for
rugs. I mean, the thing is, it's, you know, sometimes there's more cleaning involved. We'll get pictures from our housekeeping saying, you know, there's a dog here all over the place. But yeah, we've had to replace rugs. We've had to replace pieces of trim. You know, dogs have ripped trim off the wall and chewed on it, and scratches on the door, repainting things. So it's like a constant maintenance with pets. But
Do you
yeah,
get a
they're
lot
pet
of
friendly.
requests for pets?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
neither of
a
my
lot.
properties, one, the condo doesn't allow pets except for owner
Right.
pets.
That's how our condos are.
And then the house, we just chose not to because it's expensive.
Yeah.
But I feel like it does hurt our bookings, because so many people
Mm-hmm.
nowadays travel with their pets. What about you guys, Thomas?
We do, but it's probably about 50-50. Some houses we don't, some we do.
There's only one that is out there that we allow pets, that it's pet friendly. The other ones that we allow, it's just,
If they ask.
yeah, if they ask,
We'll
and
allow it.
we have very specific rules, because
Breed, size, that kind of
breed,
thing?
size, I mean, they have to have had their, like, vaccinations, they have to be,
So
you know,
they
they
have
can't
to-
be,
They have to get you the vet records.
yeah, we're loose on it. I mean, we say that because then if somebody tells us, oh, you know, no, they're not, or whatever.
Yeah.
We're not, we have the rules out there, but I don't require them to, you know, I'm gonna trust their word.
Okay.
I'm not, you know, super hardcore, but, you know, we have to know that they're not gonna destroy the house and chew on the furniture and, things like that.
Yeah.
So,
And then I think there's sort of a standard practice, if you will, of what breeds and sizes people don't accept, FYI. Jonathan, what about you?
Absolutely not.
No pets?
Nope.
Okay. But it doesn't affect your occupancy, you said?
I wouldn't care if it did,
Okay.
because
yeah,
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this: if you're the next guest and you have an allergy, right, and you can vacuum the ever-loving crap out of that sofa, and it just doesn't matter. So, nope.
Do you find that you have a problem with people who say their animal is a service pet and they buy the Amazon red harness and leash that says "Do not pet"? Do you have that? For those who don't-
I've run into it twice, and I've asked them for because they have documentation.
but
I've
you're
asked
not
them-
allowed to ask for it.
You're not allowed to.
Legally,
well.
you can't ask for it.
I know.
I did anyway, and guess what?
You're not
They moved
supposed
on
to.
and went to a different place, and
Yeah.
they didn't book. So
Which
it
means
was-
that it wasn't, you know, they were.
I wasn't worried about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
there's
can
a-
ask
it's a
3
lot of
questions.
Sticky things regarding
Yeah.
the service dog thing.
Yeah, and it got really sticky when Airbnb changed their regulations, but because, I mean, they don't have to disclose it, they don't even have to disclose that they have
Service animal.
a service animal. And
Not a
but
pet.
if it's emotional support animal, you don't have to accept them, because they are a pet, they're not a
Right.
service animal.
Yeah, those are two different, make
Yeah.
sure service and emotional support are two different.
But if they say they have a service animal, you have 3 questions you can ask them. And that is all you can ask. And if they lie to you, then that's just gonna have to be on them.
Yeah.
And you have to,
So what are the 3 questions? 'Cause I've been
what is
breaking the law,
their,
apparently.
what is their service that they perform? Will they always be with you?
Right, always, they have to always be with them.
And, yeah, but I think that is one of the questions that you can ask.
And will they be created or something
And
like
what are
that?
they, what are they, do you have a medical reason why they are your service animal or something like that?
Yeah, I don't think you can ask them that. I know what you're talking about, but
It
it's
is something
not
like,
their
yes,
medical,
but you can
yeah.
go on the ADA website
It'll say.
and find the
Yeah.
very specific, just Google it and find the very specific questions.
And there's a lot of service dogs for
Yeah.
epilepsy, for autism, for anxiety. I mean, there's all over the chains. Blind is,
Yeah,
obvious.
it's legitimate. The emotional support, you don't have to accept.
Yeah, and if they, because sometimes they'll say that, and if they say something about creating the animal when they're not there, then you know right there it's
Right.
not a service animal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, very important question. How do you know how to price your unit or home? Wow. I'm gonna start with Crystal and Andrew. Is there's an app, what apps? How do you figure it
So
out?
I want to comment on what she said about
Okay.
the higher price attracts the better guest, and
Uh-huh.
that's absolutely true.
Yes,
I experienced it, I've seen it, every time you lower the price, your
You get
your
what you
discounters
pay for.
come in. And I mean, we get so many messages, will you accept a discount? And that thing about that is if they're asking for a discount up front, they're already complaining, right? That's their first complaint, your price is too high. And so don't offer a discount. We've made that mistake, and the people that offer the discount will give you the bad feedback. And what's crazy is they'll give you the feedback on value. It's like, first of all, we took our time to negotiate with you, and then secondly, we gave you a discount, and then you're gonna tell me the value's not good? And then they'll complain about stuff. They always complain, so don't offer the discount. Almost always, they come back and pay the full price, and usually they're pretty decent, but, so yeah, the discounts, I don't know. If they ask for a discount, no, stick to your guns, just say, this is our price, and if you go on there, you'll see it's competitive. But yeah, I agree with the higher, the better pricing attracts a better guest. And for us, our theme, when we were in Mont Eagle, we sat down, the reason we came up with Serenity, because we were like, what people will stay here? And it's gonna be people that wanna come and relax. We're gonna have hikers here, we're gonna have outdoorsy people here. There's so much to do in Mont Eagle outdoors. We're gonna attract those kinds of guests, and these people are, they're zen, they wanna relax, and so that's where Serenity came from. But at the beach, you have the partiers, the spring breakers, but we don't want those. So we wanna attract the families that are there with their kids and their grandkids. They're there as a unit, and not necessarily groups of people in one big house. We want the families. So that's what we're trying to market to, and we're trying to price to that. They're gonna pay a little bit more to have that. So the price, what's that? So, yeah, well, originally, I would go on and just research I would take like 10 or 12 in the area and just kind of average out what are they, it was very manual, what are they charging, what's their cleaning fee?
Yeah.
But now, we're using a software called Price Labs. So Price Labs does all
Price
that.
Labs.
And there's a couple others out there. We're using Price Labs. It's not free. You got to pay for it. The more units you have, the more it costs. But I kind of let it do the work. You can adjust. If you feel like it's a little too low or a little too high, you can adjust it. You put in your amenities and your market conditions and all that, and they will. They have all the information from Airbnb and VRBO, and they will price it kind of for you. So they will go. I think they go 500 and something days out. And so they will, every day, they will adjust your prices for you, as market conditions change.
With the events.
The events, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put in a new event thing, and they keep up with events. Yep. And you can manually put in events too.
But you do, every now and again, wanna go into your platforms and alter your prices manually because it works with the algorithms and it places your property up higher.
Well, yeah, if it's constantly changing prices, then they look at that you're involved in there. But
So
that's
that-
what we're doing now.
Crystal and Andrew are very involved in their pricing. They're very eyes on the prize with that. This is not set it, let's see how the year goes.
Yeah.
This is an ongoing thing. What do you guys use for pricing? Yours is a little easier because it's local.
Yeah, we just look at the homes
Competition.
around us and try to price it accordingly, and then we factor in all the events, and we do that manually. We don't use any third-party software.
Do you get the chamber calendar?
I do, yeah, we look at the chamber calendar,
Yeah.
and then like sports events, MTSU.
The big ones are, Bonnaroo and Renaissance Festival and graduation, and those, we will adjust every home and up the prices.
Yeah.
But Mary does all that.
And there's not much deviation. The events are pretty much repetitious each year, aren't they? There's not a lot of new events injected, I found. They're kind of all the same.
Yeah.
And they're all about the same time. So
Yeah. And it's definitely more work to do it on this end, and we've looked into like price labs, and I think Housey is one, and there's all different, there's like so many different softwares out there. There's kind of like your core, maybe 3 to 5. And right now, we haven't decided that we wanna use those, but I've heard good, there's always good and bad feedback, and trying to decide if it's worth it in the long run to dive into that. So.
are there any other apps, I'm gonna get to you in a second, Jonathan, that you guys use to help you manage in multiple ways, whether it's pricing, maintenance, keeping up with maintenance?
We just signed up with uplisting.
Yeah, we uplisting to manage communications, because we automated some of the communications, and uplistings has a direct booking platform that we use. But like you said, there's a dozen of them out there that,
Yeah.
there's Owner Res and Housey, and there's so many.
Housey, Housey, and Owner Res, REZ?
Yeah, REZ,
Yeah.
Owner REZ.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a bunch of those out there. As far as maintenance goes, we don't have anything automated. I've got
Like an
lists.
Excel
When you
spreadsheet?
go do maintenance on ones.
I actually have, and this is from my corporate quality world, but I have this app called, it used to be called iAuditor, but now it's called Safety Culture, but I have like an inspection list that I made on that. And it's actually an audit form that we use in our plants. But I use it to go in and I'll do an inspection in the house, check, you gotta make sure everything's working, right? The light
Yeah.
bulbs and just all the basic stuff that you would think. might
That's
get
nice,
overlooked,
that's a
yeah.
good idea.
But
I
then
know-
he can send that out to one, like,
Yeah.
I've inspected the property, this.
Make
is
sure all the
what
drains
needs
are
attention.
draining, everything is working
Because
properly.
remember, they're property managing and they're property managing someone else's properties too. So send that. I know with our beach house, it is my husband, it's called Mural Manor on Ponce, because it's on Ponce de Leon in Gulf Shores. It's actually on Fort Morgan. But my husband calls it Maintenance Manor. Because, we gotta go to Maintenance Manor next week. And just trying to keep up, because the PM will say, we had to replace the grinder pump. Again, we had to replace the pool lights. Again, one of the heating air units went out. Again, another refrigerator shelf was broken. Again, and how do you keep up with that? Because it can be overwhelming, and you can't just keep it up in your head.
But I have like the task list on iPhone. So recurring tasks I'll set up when it's, changing the air filters, changing the batteries on the door locks, when it's time to do certain maintenance tasks. So it's just all, reminds me to get it done.
Remind me to bring up how you guys stock your pantry and stuff. Jonathan, pricing,
I'm kind of lazy on the pricing. So Airbnb has its own kind of system to raise and lower prices based on what demand they're seeing.
yeah,
So I set my,
seasonalities.
right, and it's based on overall activity, and so if they see activity going up, then they, and so I set the floor on mine, and, the floor gets me what I need to get, and so if it adjusts it up, that's great. every now and then, especially if I am aware of something going on, then I'll go in and manipulate it for those particular days.
Notice you just said the floor. If you're going like through Airbnb, you gotta give them a floor price and a price you will not go below before you just leave it empty.
Now, I only have mine on Airbnb, and they stay pretty booked. I was actually just talking to Merida about syncing up VRBO with that. There's also software that, it's escaping me now, the big one. There's two of them that are kind of competing for top spot that sync all kinds of platforms at one time, and then it helps with,
AirDNA.
what is it?
AirDNA.
No, that's not the one.
Well, that's what
You use that
uplisting
That's
does.
what I was supposed
But it
Yeah.
also syncs with like your,
Owner resident. Yeah, owner
yeah, that's still
resident.
not the one I'm thinking of.
I know.
Hostaway,
Hostaway.
that's it.
Hostaway and Guesty.
That's the one I'm thinking of. But it also syncs up, I use Schlag Sense locks on mine, and because you can time them, and they're very inexpensive. The app is like, I don't know, $40 a year or something like that. Actually, it might even be free. I can't
We use
remember.
the encode.
It's similar, yeah. And so I just generate a new code for each one, and so Hostaway syncs up with the Schlag locks, and it automatically generates those and times them out for you. So I have not invested in one of those platforms yet. I still do all that stuff manually. I did want to mention one thing. You were starting to talk about maintenance. One thing that an insurance agent told me very recently, and this was, I never thought about this, but from an insurance standpoint and a legal standpoint, your standard of care on a short-term rental is significantly higher than on a long-term rental. The expectation from they is that you're in that short-term rental more often. And so if there's a safety issue, you're way more likely to be sued and way more likely to lose on a short-term rental than you are on a long-term rental, because you're not necessarily present at the long-term rental, for a year at a time. So just be aware of that. Don't ignore safety issues. The one that we get, both of my units are upstairs. And so if it's snow and ice, by God, you better be there that morning clearing the snow and ice off of the stairs. Because you got a guest that takes a tumble, you're essentially hospitality. You're not a landlord at that point.
That's a great point. And also, that reminded me, except for in Jonathan's case, he's doing a walk-by, but do drive-bys by your property or properties. Just random.
Not the Dr. Dre type of drive-by.
No.
Depends on the guest.
Well,
No,
just
no,
want to throw that
I'd like
out
to
there.
drive by
Let's
some
be
of the
real
guests.
clear here.
Yeah,
okay?
no riding dirty or anything like that. But just go by I know last night I went by one of mine, it was like 9 o'clock, I was kind of in the location, I went by, and I could easily see through the windows in the street that they were watching TV, everything kind of looked in place, the yard looked mowed, the cars weren't in the yard, put your, like we say, eyes on the prize. One quick thing on maintenance and inquiries from prospective guests, if somebody's there and the heat and air goes out, you guys get the phone calls, is that correct?
Oh, for sure.
And you deal with it immediately? At what point do you give them some rent back? The air goes out and it's, 90 degrees and you can't get it fixed for 2 days. Are you charging for those 2 days?
No.
No.
Yes, but I may,
Take fans.
well, yes, or I may offer at that point, especially if mine are small, so air goes out and it's gonna take me 2 days, then I might actually take them to the next step and put them up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still take their money, but not charge them for where I put them
Yeah.
up, and make
Yes,
sure that I
that
do
too.
it the
Yeah.
right way. Only because I just don't like dealing with trying to get refunds and all this
Yeah.
other crap on the platform.
Okay.
But
So-
if you have, that is the benefit, especially if you have multiple places. We would have, unless everything's booked of ours.
Then you put them in
You
a
have the
hotel or
ability to
something.
move them, or you find a friend who has an Airbnb close by, or, worst case scenario is you put them in a hotel.
had to do that.
Does anybody have the numbers on how many short-term rentals, whether it be a loft or a house or a sofa or whatever, are available in Rutherford County?
A lot more than 6 years ago.
A lot more.
Yeah,
I don't-
I don't know.
It's
No.
so not controlled
Yeah.
That I doubt that there's a comprehensive number. It's all gonna be estimates.
The only way you could do it is manually.
You'd
Just
have to go online and
look.
look.
AirDNA
Air
would probably
DNA
have
could-
it, yeah.
yeah.
But
AirDNA.
airdna.co, right?
I know you used that when I said, how do we price our condo? You suggested airdna.co.
Yeah, you can do research with that.
Yeah.
But even that's not gonna be comprehensive because somebody might have one listed here.
Yeah, it would just be what's on VRBO and Airbnb pretty much, right?
Well,
for
when
the-
we sold our lake tiny house, a couple that come to look at it, looked at our property on AirDNA, so they put it in there. And AirDNA was $2 off of what we profited, like literally.
what we brought in.
Of what we brought in.
So they were
looked at
very
that.
spot on. Wow.
We had never heard of it until that point, and they
Yeah.
came in, and he was like, oh, you're the top spot in the whole county on AirDNA, and I'm like, what is
What's
that?
mean?
Yeah, that's
Hooray
awesome.
us.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
So let's get into a little more of the detail, and then we're gonna open this up for some Q&A, because we've got some veterans in here, we got some newbies. I can tell by faces, you guys are like, because I've had the luxury of staying at Crystal and Andrew's house, and I saw how their pantry was set up and what was labeled and what they provided for toiletries, and I started going, I need to come up with my own aroma scent. I was mixing essential oils to make sure it all smelled the same, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot, if you want it to be. So tell us a little bit about that, and I want everyone to kind of answer, do you provide, what supplies do you provide? And that-
Yeah, so amenities are huge for us. We try to think of everything, from coffee to creamer, sugars,
To hair rubber bands.
to
I
hair
mean, it's
rubber bands,
unbelievable.
Q-tips.
Hot balls.
I even leave like a kit with a toothbrush, floss, a razor, and toothpaste.
With a
Just
little
in case
sign
you
that says Serenity, welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, obviously toilet paper, paper towels, sponges, you gotta have a fresh sponge, or, you don't wanna use somebody's old sponge.
But your pantry
dishwasher
is
tabs.
full
Yeah.
of
yeah,
because we
because
can't get there.
Yes,
all the
yeah,
time.
since we're not there, what we do is we have an owner's closet in
owner's
each unit.
closet, I should say.
Yeah,
not
it's an owner's closet in each unit that we stock with all these amenities. And so every 3 months,
Coffees.
yeah, I'll go down there
Sugars.
and I will stock it with 3 months worth of supplies. And housekeeping has access to the closet, and so they have a list of, here's all the amenities, 2 of these per bathroom, put this out in the kitchen, put this out wherever. So they have lists for all that, so they will leave all that stuff out for us.
I've never seen an Airbnb that had so much thought put into what it would take to make my stay comfortable.
Easy.
I literally never. I mean, I dare say y'all are the king and queen of that. It was like a hair tie. Okay. I mean, it was hand sanitizer or Listerine, or I was just like, oh my gosh, so much. Food wise, normal.
Spices, all
Oh, yeah,
spices,
spices, yeah.
oil. I always get like the pink Himalayan salt and the pepper grinders, and always keep that full.
It's about $32 worth of amenities per stay.
Ooh, do you think he knows his numbers? Yeah.
They don't
And I've
use it
seen-
all.
I've
Yeah,
seen-
the
'cause when he's
conditioners
down-
and the shampoo and all
When he's
that.
down there, he's either going to Sam's Club or they're getting box after box from Amazon. Box after box. It's unbelievable. But food wise, you don't leave.
No.
No,
Yeah. I didn't
yeah,
think
you
so.
don't leave food.
And now also, are you particular about your sheets and towel quality?
Yes. And we want everything to be the same. Like, we'll have housekeepers, the housekeepers bring stuff from other people's, places, and I'll walk in, I'm like, a blue rug? We don't own a blue rug.
Yes.
So, but it is. But to be honest, the sheets that we get the most compliments on is the Mainstay microfiber at Walmart. And they
Mainstay
are
microfiber wall. Doesn't have to be the expensive bamboo or the 1,003 count Egyptian cotton.
Yeah,
That's funny.
But the beds,
the beds are the most.
spend the
important.
money on the beds, because that's where you get the most complaints.
Do
You
you
don't have
get
good
the
beds.
roll-up beds, foam beds that come from Amazon?
For the bunks we do, we'll use the foam beds.
Yeah.
We will put those on the bunks.
And you're not doing the 4 to 6 inch mattress, you're doing
8 inch.
the 8 to 9, whatever
Yeah.
it's the
The
max.
8 inch foams, And then on the other beds, like the queens and the kings, will get a black
Black opal.
opal
Sealy.
Serta or Sealy.
It's a Sealy, I think.
Sealy, black opal.
And those aren't cheap,
No, those
but there's no, you don't get complaints, do
Oh,
you?
no.
No,
We get
we get
compliments,
compliments, yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the bed I'm sleeping on and the mattress I bought for the lake house, I stayed in a condo in Gulf Shores one year and I slept on this bed and I was like, I mean, we all know what a bad bed sleep is like, non-sleep, right? And I was like, geez, what is this? I'm flipping it up, taking pictures of the label, came straight home, ordered those mattresses. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Thomas and Meredith, tell us how you feel about spices and sugar or whatever, coffees or whatever.
Very similar. We have an owner's closet in every house. One of our houses had a 30 by 50 like building out back, so that's like our Sam's Club.
Is that Kenneth?
Murphy.
Murphy too,
Oh.
the babe cave.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll go to Sam's Club once every couple of weeks, or once a month, and stock that building. And so they don't have to go to the store.
Wow.
Everything will be there, including a bunch of extra furniture and a bunch of stuff we need to get rid of. But you know, it's a building that we can.
Yeah, because
pick
do
from.
they break chairs?
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
have a
Bar
coffee table
stools?
missing
We're
right
currently
now.
missing a coffee table from the last day. I don't know how that happens. Don't know
Somebody
where,
got
when.
drunk and they fell on it and it broke and
Yeah.
they threw
They
it
took
away.
it.
They
didn't
took-
throw
they
away,
had to
they
take it
took
with them. It
Like,
wasn't
this
in the
is
trash
gone. It's
can.
off the property.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I had the
Yeah.
same thing happen, but it was like, okay, let's work through this. Coffee table's missing, glass top coffee
Oh my
table.
gosh.
So whoever fell on that puppy, ooh, I bet they had some glass on their booty. Ooh. So I was like, yeah,
But
well,
that wasn't your fault,
huh?
that they fell in it?
Yeah, right.
No, I collected guest damages. I'm like,
Yeah.
this coffee table was $350.
Well,
So
we had a guest, let their kid cook and they set a hot pan on our new quartz countertops and burnt it. And Airbnb paid us $4,000 and something dollars.
For
to
almost
have it replaced.
4,500, yeah.
wow.
And we actually got we had two people out there to try to remove it, and they could not get it out. And then we had someone come out and they buffed it down.
Buffed it down, yeah.
And that was much less expensive than replacing it. So we actually got in a little extra money on that one, but we have a buff mark in there. You can kind of, if you look at it, you can kind of see it's been
Yeah.
buffed, but it still looks good.
So Thomas and Meredith, sheets, towels, or do you have a?
We go with white. I
so it's a
mean,
consistent theme.
Yeah.
We can move them from place to place if we have to.
yeah.
We do provide a Simply Pure Sweet cookie. They bake us, we put an order in and they bake us like a smaller cookie than they sell for every guest at every house. We tell, Meredith texts them the quantity every couple days and we'll run by there and pick one up and every guest will have their own chocolate chip cookie. Our Babe Cave gets a pink sprinkled sugar cookie there. But that's really the only food that we provide.
It's the little things, isn't it?
Yeah, and we get so many compliments on thank you so much for the cookie, and then they want to go to Simply Pure Sweets needs, so it's kind of supporting local business, and you know they're good friends, and so we like to try to do that as much as possible. Just basic spices, that sort of thing. No real food.
Do you either, okay, let me answer that question, I'm gonna get back to the question. How do you feel about sheets, food,
I'm for 'em.
condiments? I'm gonna smack him. I'm just gonna
Ask
smack
better
him.
questions, Courtney.
Yeah,
No,
smack 'em.
so my cleaners, I'm very spoiled by my cleaners. So, if you're at all like me and it just comes down to time and money, get a great cleaning crew. I can tell you who mine is, after this. But they wash everything. She manages about 40, units. So when I brought a new one online, I counted how many beds, I gave her that many sets of white sheets. And so she just, and it might be somebody else's white sheets, but I don't care. Same with blankets and stuff like that. Keep it very, very, very simple. And she also stocks, so everybody gets a bag or two of popcorn, maybe some bottled water, some candy, whatever, just
Yeah.
a little welcome type thing. And she manages that. Also built into my cleaning fee, she buys all of her own paper product. She keeps her own stockpile of that, and for all of the different ones. So I don't have to touch anything at this point. But I picked up 2 clients out of Airbnbs because I leave my business card. a magnet on the fridge, a notepad, and an ink pen that's all branded.
Ooh.
And so that stays, and since they're all right there, it's my area, you know what I mean? And then I know you told me to write this, but a notebook, a welcome notebook, that's probably what I've gotten the most compliments on any of my units. You know, our beds are just beds, they're not uncomfortable. But the notebook, so I spend a lot of time you know, my recommendation, why it's my recommendation, have multiple businesses. I didn't like coordinate that with anybody. It's truly my recommendations.
Jonathan's not gonna say this, but he owns another business called Cedar Grove Glade Brewery. It's right behind Chewy's, and it's a brewery, and it's a bar, and you come, and you can have events there, and they got a food truck and that kind of thing. So he keep going, but I love this notebook idea.
Yeah, so it'll have, you know, seasonality, like walk to the square, you know, here's some things that you should do while you're here. Make sure you do this, make sure you do this. If you got kids, go here. And it's not like a novel, but it's got, you know, bulleted points in there. And I bet every third or fourth guest says, we love the notebook full of recommendations.
Yeah, it keeps the guesswork, takes the guesswork out of it, right? Wouldn't you like to know where to go eat?
And keep it up to date, you know, if somewhere closes or, you know, they start to suck or whatever, take them out.
There's also one on Airbnb, so you have the
we do
guest.
guidebook. I put
The
it on both.
guidebook, yeah, yeah. I just don't like printing stuff.
What's it called?
Guidebook.
The guidebook.
But they like having that notebook because they can
Yeah,
come
no, I
in, it's
totally
6
believe it.
pages, they flip it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, I know this sounds silly, but most of us in the room are in the real estate business, and smell is important. People choose by seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, right? And so I'm real particular about how my listings smell and my
I want no
Airbnb
smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want no
I
smell?
want
We're
no
the same.
smell.
Okay,
And so like, even the soaps and all of that stuff, everything,
smell,
I want
no-
no smell.
okay.
I
What
want
do
it
you
totally
guys?
neutral.
Each property has its own scent, and that was huge. Like when we started with the tiny house, it was coconut pie, coconut cream pie.
They use wallflowers,
Yeah.
which is a Bath and Body
Yeah.
Works.
Yeah, and so we would get tons. Now, there are people that will write you and ask if there are scents, can you take them out? And we do, you know.
Okay.
So if they request it, we will remove the scents, have housekeeping, open the windows, air it out, whatever. But we've probably gotten 2 of those in 5 years.
Okay, so different
So,
approach.
but, yeah,
Sense, no sense, no sense.
Yeah.
Just FYI. Okay, wow, we only have 15 minutes left. I told y'all it would fly by. Thomas told me walking the door, he said, this is not my vibe, I don't do this. I said, well, you're doing it from 9 to 11. So thank you.
You've done great.
Jonathan, on the other hand, has no problem talking. All right, so, Annette, I would like to hear from you first, because obviously you're seasoned with this. You have, how many Airbnbs do you have?
I own 5 in Panama City Beach, and I've had, or not 5, I've owned 3 for 5 years.
3 for 5 years. And how did you end up there? Just where you vacation?
There all the time, and we bought our first one, my parents passed, the estate, I got a lump sum that we've been
Yeah.
saving, so I just bought one, and then that one came up, 615, had to buy it. The number,
Yeah.
we call it 615 at the beach.
Oh, that's good.
So, you know, we bought that one, and then the one right next door to my other one came available, and, you know, location, I paid more than I should have, I got it anyway. So I have 3, and they're all on the same floor, right together, I can sleep 25 people
Oh, wow.
between the 3.
Wow.
So, oh wow, that's a perk.
Yeah.
Right.
And I do rent to families that stay, I have a family down there now, it's the 4th time they've stayed with me here right now.
So,
And
I
they keep
want,
going to my bigger units because the family keeps growing.
so I love what you just said. You guys you can sleep with 5 properties. I mean, you can sleep a large group of people are in town for a wedding,
yeah.
you know, or a funeral,
Yeah.
or whatever.
We have had beach weddings and stuff, and our complex that we're in has places they can have the receptions at. We can actually have weddings on our property that we have, so,
Tell everybody the names of your places so they can Google if they want to stay there.
one of my
615
websites,
at the beach.
Masterson Rentals, I'm a real one, big name. My first one is called The Sea Shed,
The Sea Shed, S-E-A.
The other one is called 615 at the beach, and the other one is called the best trip ever.
A Masterson Rentals is M-A-S-T-E-R-S-E-N. S-O-N. M-A-S-T-E-R-S-O-N Rentals. So she's got names, she's got a theme. If you know some of the questions, then you can kind of see what that looks like. John?
I have 2 units down in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas.
Ooh.
It's a golf and lake resort.
I love
For
Hot
anybody who
Springs.
doesn't know Hot Springs, if you're living in
Oh,
West
so fun.
Tennessee, that's where you go, and it has got the hot springs. It's renowned for 150 years at least of bathhouses, and that's where kind of the elite would travel. So keep going.
Yeah, it's, we ended up there, we had some good friends of ours that moved out there. We had never even heard of it, you know, we went out there, we had the same experience, we're like, this place is awesome. One townhome became available, it was half of a duplex, and when the other one came available, we quickly grabbed that one up, you know, too, so. And that one was already, they both were already existing Airbnbs, so we bought them
Wow.
with completely furnished.
Oh, that's nice.
And, you know, my wife is an interior designer, so she's had a lot of fun, you know, playing with it, and they've been great. One, like, you know, kind of off-the-wall question is for you guys, you know, my wife and I were having a discussion this morning. For your sinks and showers, liquid soap or bar soaps?
No, liquid.
Liquid, okay. And for shampoos, do you have little individual bottles, or you have one big bottle?
We have the things on the wall.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
resell.
That we
those.
resell.
We have
For
indi-
most of them.
yeah.
I'm the oddball. I go to Amazon and there's packages.
You have the little ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's little bottles and a little bar of soap, and
Yeah.
it's like $3
Yeah.
a set.
And then another
And-
kind
and
of off-the-wall question, we could probably
lotion.
have a whole other forum on this alone. Have you guys ever heard of the thing called rental arbitrage?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you guys do that at all?
No.
Have you at all?
We rent one.
It's like where you rent someone, like you enter into a long-term rental with somebody,
And then we Airbnb.
but then you explain to them what you're gonna do, and you Airbnb out that unit.
Yeah, we do
We
that
rent one duplex here in Murfreesboro
on Main Street.
on Main Street. We rent
we've
that
done it with
duplex,
others,
and,
too.
but
Because I tried to do that in Nashville a couple times, and I kept getting shut down by, you know. more-
It's not the most, well, it depends on your agreement with, and what you're renting, but you have to know that, like, that place is really gonna get rented, because you've gotta make the,
'Cause your
you've
commitment.
gotta make the rent,
Well,
you know?
Yeah.
after a couple times, I gave up on it, I just said, this is just like.
It works well for us right now, it hasn't on some other places.
You know, that has never crossed my mind. In all these years, I have never even thought about renting a place to Airbnb it.
It's a really big thing right now, that
Yeah.
arbitrage, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, John, did you have any other questions or
No, just-
questions? Okay, and then
just rent it
next,
right over
There
there.
was a
Yeah.
couple things when you're talking about apps and companies that go through things. There's a place called Host GPO.
host.
Host GPO.
GPO.
You can actually buy discounted, good hotel style sheets, bedding, furniture. They have design people that don't charge for the design work. You can get all your little toiletries and things with your company name and put on it, and they're, pick the scent and all, you can design them. And they'll, they sell that to you. You have like your store within their store.
That's
You
nice.
Order things for your units. It's a really nice, I ran into them, we go to they have a short-term
Like
STR secrets conferences all over. They have one in Nashville, you go right over the year, I go to those. And you pick up a lot of this kind of stuff, that's a really good system. There's one that we use down there for my cleaning crew, it's called Turo. It's like turn with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And it
Turn Up.
alerts my cleaning people when they come in, when they go out, it tells me if she started, it tells me if she's finished, it tells me if there's any problems, and it's all done on the software. And OwnerRez is part, you get OwnerRez is who we use, it has the price line, Airbnb,
AirDNA.
AirDNA.
DNA, I knew it didn't sound, and it also does my locks, it keeps my calendar from all the different platforms that I use.
And that was called what, Toro?
Toro is the cleaning.
Yeah.
That's the
Toro.
cleaners, for the cleaners, but it works through, I use OwnerRez as my management of everything, and everything goes in there. And then something that we do in Florida,
picking up affiliate or something?
Whatever they spend. The board just stand on out in the lake, tours, dolphin tours, it even has, someone can, a chef will come into my condo and cook for them, I got massage people that will come in, they get all these different things, and they can buy, and that's where I have like my playpens, my high chairs, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's part of my store. I have birthday cakes, we have, deals out on the, you know, your bonfire on the beach and, that kind of stuff, and they can actually buy it from my store, and I now have an AI deal on there that can plan their whole vacation for a price, and I get a percentage of everything.
Yeah,
that goes on.
because you're referring them to these
And
businesses.
when they book with me and on Airbnb and on the res in Verbo, it sends them an email, and then it sends them another email, and then it sends them the day they arrive. Hey, don't forget, we have a store, and then I have a deal with a code they can scan, and it opens up to my store.
That's
And
awesome.
I mean, there's people that buy stuff, I have people that don't buy anything. I'm working on expanding that with someone down there that will do, if they forgot their, they can buy a whole packet of suntan stuff, or,
Yeah.
you know, different sunglasses,
Yep.
car charger, I mean, phone chargers, even though I have them in our units for my vehicle, I have a little station to charge all the
Yeah,
phones.
that would be.
But, you know, you have all these little things
Yeah,
in there,
for sure.
and it's amazing how many people leave a case of water, you know. I have one that they'll go with their grocery shopping and bring it and put it in the unit for them. It's on. So I think we're gonna use that. Sometimes I get, I think I get $75 for that, if they hire that person to go shop with them and bring it in, I get $75.
Yeah, $75 is
And it's a
$75.
service to them, so it gets kind of an upsell, it's called Host Co.
Host.co.
And you build your own store.
Yeah.
But then they'll have like stores, like in Panama City, they have you click in there, put your zip code in, and it shows all the stores that are members of that. And if you see something you want that's not in there, you just shoot them an email and they'll go find one, or you can suggest a company and they'll put it in. And they do check them, and they do they do the taxes, and they send me, they just, when it comes in, the end of the month, they just put it in my bank account.
That's wonderful. I love that
And they do
idea.
1099 at the end of the year, how much I made through them.
Yeah, I love that idea.
So with
I'm gonna
Airbnb,
follow
you
up with that.
you send them, do you send that message?
It's all through an auto, one of their auto,
You send it through Airbnb?
I can send it through Airbnb.
I'm always worried about sending the websites through Airbnb, because they like to,
Thank you, Annette, that's valuable.
That's where you buy all your supplies, and they help you design, if you want to theme a deal, they'll help you with the theme, they'll help you. And they're connected with one of and a few other companies are within that Host GPO, and they actually help you. It's Host GPO, is one of the supplies, and they give high quality.
And the other one was host.co.
Host Co, it's Host CO.
Oh, not host.co,
Host
host.co,
was host.co.
okay.
And the other one is Host GPO.
Okay, got it. Angel, hold on a second. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, being so close to NTSU, have you ever thought about renting to students?
Ooh.
I don't.
Students'
No.
parents that come in town.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
a lot.
Graduation, they no, not.
Now, I've had a couple of scenarios, and again, generally, people are good. I've had a couple of scenarios where mom has reached out and said, you know, junior can't move into their house until, you know, 5
Right.
days from now or whatever, you know, and mom rents
Mom
it for
signs it,
junior,
yeah.
right? And I'm very clear with them, that's fine, but I live right across the yard, so they got an extra dad here watching, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mom loves that. The
Yeah.
kid doesn't like, but mom loves that.
Yeah.
And also for traveling nurse, I hear or I read something online that you actually can rent per room or you rent the unit.
I only rent units.
Same. You
Yeah.
can't, you have the ability to do that. They have to be lockable room. There's regulations and stuff, lockable rooms and that kind of thing. We don't do it, but you have the ability to do that.
You know, you can have a 3-bedroom, okay, I need everybody to smile. Oh, yeah. You
said
can
no
have a
squirming in the
3-bedroom
I know,
and lock
right?
off the 3rd bedroom for the owner's closet. You know, I lock off, instead of my pantry at the condo, I lock off a closet in what would be the kids' bunk room, because I could use the closet, and then, you know, shelf that. That's a side note when we're talking about that stuff. Angel,
I'd like to ask a question for those of you that own beach properties. drastic, like if I was
The
going to
insurance.
here and I did that on purpose, because I learned these stupid tests here, if I was gonna mess up, I wanted to be on a lower level,
Yeah.
I wanted to learn here.
So-
My ultimate goal is to buy these.
Yeah, I mean, the advice is to really do your due diligence on that because it will, yeah, we're experiencing that right now. With the condos, there's assessments on the HOA fees because the homeowners association has kicked the can down the road on the yearly assessments. And so now Florida says you have to fund your reserves. So now the current owners are stuck holding the bag on funding the reserves
For
of the previous
obvious
owners,
reasons
yeah.
that started, we don't have to bring up
So,
that tragedy, but.
so there's that, so there's an assessment on the condos now, and then with the insurance, right, so there's what they call citizens insurance down there, that's the state-owned insurance. Well, we have that for the wind insurance on one of the houses, and so they are, going to increase up to 50% if you're not a resident of the home. So it's a non-resident
Non-owner
owner.
occupied.
Non-owner
Yeah,
occupied.
and you gotta make sure, I was getting some quotes, cause our beach house is $40,000 a year for insurance.
Yeah,
It was 25,000.
it's expensive.
We haven't had a storm, and we're right on the ocean, so, but they one quoted 30 and there was no wind. And I was like, we're on the ocean.
Well, some have separate flooding policies too. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in, of course, same as here. flood
Yeah,
zone.
and that's another thing that Citizens is changing, is it's gonna be mandatory flood insurance, even if you're not in the flood zone. Right, so, yeah, they're shopping around, and now a lot of the private insurers are leaving Florida, so, yeah, I mean, our insurance on the house is around 4,000 a year, it's not 40,000.
Yeah, but you pray and believe that they'll insure, that we just wanna make sure we stay insured, right? And that's a big thing. Angel, did you have any more questions?
One other question, on your reviews, like every peer reviews, do you all go and respond to every review, and what's your opinion about that?
Only if it's really good, or really bad.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
One end or the other?
Yeah.
I'll kind of go through waves.
Yeah. I'll
Do
really
it.
wait.
Yeah.
Yes, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, if you're getting, as a realtor, when you're getting those reviews on Google or Realtor.com or wherever you focus on getting your reviews,
Always
make sure
respond.
you respond.
Yeah.
Always respond. Yes, ma'am.
So, have you ever looked into doing like camper short-term rentals or RV? Is that something like, oh, I wouldn't want to touch that, and for what reason? Or would that be a good way if somebody was interested in this, but like, obviously that's a smaller cost to get started than buying property?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
But it
That
might-
and houseboats.
It might not be a smaller cost,
Yeah, it
because
kinda depends
by
on-
the time you have utilities and all of that stuff, it's not as efficient. That being said, I own a bus, it's called the Hillbilly Hilton, and it's incredible. And I have a big
You'll see
empty
it in
lot.
empty shoe games.
I have a big empty lot in between two of my rentals, and I have very seriously considered pouring a concrete pad and parking the Hilton there and renting that. I'm pretty sure the city would have an absolute conniption fit
Yes.
about it, which is honestly more of a reason that I want to do it.
I was gonna say,
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I've stayed in one. I stayed in one
Yeah.
in middle of nowhere, Alabama. It was awesome, and so yeah, I mean,
it is popular, and I know this because one of my sons, his little side job, these 28-year-olds have these side jobs, is he moves RVs from place to place for people who rent them. So he drives them or he pulls them with his truck.
It would be awesome.
And not talking about just Bonnaroo, setting up for Bonnaroo or CMF or whatever. I'm talking about he takes them to a site where they rent them for a long period of time.
There are also some that have they've got their own, we rented one with, when we had one, I don't remember, one boy. And they had like yurts and a camper and like this whole like campsite and stuff like that. So they created a property that housed all these different, things.
Yes.
And I would imagine that they've done pretty well, it's a completely different experience, obviously. When you're getting a camper, you're going for a different vibe than a house.
My godchild, they bought a big motor home, I guess is a good way to put it, right? And they use it, but when they're not using it, they're renting it out. And she says they do real well with it, so it is something. Yes, sir.
I have a question from the cash flow perspective. If you have a long-term property, if I want to change it to a short-term, do you expect to have more cash flow in a short-term property? Like, what are the benefits from jumping from long-term to short-term?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you will. I mean, long-term is more consistent, so you know.
Less
you know,
hassles.
But less work.
Less work.
You get chunks of work, you know, like
Yeah.
before and after people are renting. But,
But theoretically, yes,
Yeah.
you should have more cash flow,
If you do it right.
yes.
Yeah.
But then, remember, you own two resources, you own time and you own money. And so you're gonna trade your time for that extra money.
yeah.
Right.
And time including the headache factor. It's not an instant like, okay, I'm gonna go up 15% or 20% my cash flow. You also gotta make sure people get there.
Yeah, it's a personal choice, but you gotta do all these things we
Yeah.
talked about to make the magic happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen casually or by accident.
Because you
And
have to
I was-
furnish it, you'll have to pay utilities, you have to pay for internet.
Right.
You have to start paying for all these things that you previously didn't have to pay for.
I was extremely naive when I started it, and the reality is they are not the same. The long-term and the short-term rentals, they are two very different skill sets and two very different types of assets.
Well, I mean, with long-term, like, you know, you're set with, you know, my mortgage is this, you know, so I'm gonna make $500, and that's good, if you make $500 a month. But like, on the Florida properties, if you could have 1 month, like the month of July, you know, you might bring in, what's the most we brought in? Like in one of the properties.
25,000?
So 25,000 in a month, you know, but sometimes you have to spread that out because it's not gonna rent every day.
Right.
But it's a huge difference. My client Juan, who used to always do long-term, I mean, he's like kinda straying away from that and wanting to sell all of those because, I mean, we sent him a check in March for
18,000.
18,000 just for 1 month, and that's his profit. I mean, well, he's gotta pay like
So,
lights and water.
yeah, that's his cut. So that's after housekeeping, Florida taxes, host fees, and then our commission.
Yeah.
That was his cut.
So also remember convenience. The 4 condos that they have, are all in the same resort.
They're all on the same street, our
Yeah.
2 houses, all the
Uh-huh.
condos.
And his is right in the same area, and they're
Yeah.
right in the area. And Annette just said hers are all in the same
Yep.
floor, the same
It's
building.
easy to manage.
On the same floor in the same building.
Yeah, so do you self-manage? Yes. So, keep in mind, there's a convenience factor. If you start doing here, 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 and here, like what I've got, and I don't have any extra, let's put it this way, what they just said, time is a valuable commodity, right?
And-
It's all we have, and I'm not gonna get my time, I don't want anybody to waste my time, nor would I waste yours. So I've gotta put the value on time, so I choose, you know, at this season of my life, I choose somebody else to handle that. I make less money, but my husband and I, like we have our goals every month. How much do we want to get from this income stream of rentals we have, right? And for us personally, it's simple. Every month, we want $15,000 from our income stream, not counting the big beach house, because that's a whole different monster. But $15,000 a month that's our goal. It's pretty simple. It's not rocket science.
If you want to simplify the thought process between long-term and short-term, think about W-2 versus 1099. You can make way more money at 1099, but you can also make way like zero money at 1099, right? W-2, it's going to be steady, same paycheck every single month, right?
Real quick, segregation. Talk about that real quick.
Cost segregation?
Cost segregation, they just did this.
All right, so when you, you buy investment property, you depreciate it for 39 years. But you can, with cost segregation, you could advance some of that depreciation on some of the assets and the systems and stuff in your house that don't last 39 years. So you take that depreciation up front. So you pay somebody, it's $3,000 or $4,000 or so. In our case, we had $191,000 that we can deduct this year, and it will save us directly about $60-some thousand in taxes.
Okay.
But the
Just on
thing-
one property.
Yeah, but the thing is, you wanna stay there a certain amount of time, because if not, you have to.
Oh yeah, you'll have to pay that
How
depreciation.
long do you have to stay in a house in Florida and live there to not pay
No, you
the
don't
more
have-
expensive taxes?
Wait, what?
Oh, are you talking about homestead?
I- or more?
To live in.
Because it's a cheaper tax rate.
Yeah.
For home